So far, so good. Made it all the way to the bottom. Alright, so this part of the ditch right behind the house here had to be a little deeper because I can't fill this anymore due to the pitch of this retaining wall. So I've got it graded where the water is just coming off this retaining wall, and I have to continue this grade right in this spot. So that's why this is deeper. But here's the touchy part, but I'm pretty good now after checking. So I have to come deeper here and then bring it right around that septic vent. But in looking down that vent, that pipe is buried quite deep there. So I got plenty of room here to make this turn and finish this ditch. Okay, so what should be the hard part is done. I made it through here without cutting anything. Right here I just nicked some gravel, so I was starting to get close, but everything that we buried in gravel so that if I ever dug that I would know I was close. So no harm, no foul. That French drain comes right under here, the sewer pipe comes right under here, and the 110 sewer, the power line, comes right under here. But we got plenty of clearance. So from here it should theoretically be pretty easy. I decided I'm going to use the 45 right here to make this turn. Now I got to clean up that mess. All the stuff I've been putting to try and slow down the erosion, clean that mess up. And this last ditch right here is going to be very, very shallow. Not more than maybe 8 inches or so, just enough to get the pipe down, and then I'm going to bring in more fill here and then grade out the backyard very nicely. So far so good. All right, slight change of plans after looking at the 45. To make it work, I'd have to run that pipe too high up here on the hill, which I don't want to do. So I think I'm better off making a banana bend here. Better off just taking it with a slight bend here and basically come out right on the right side of the dock there a little ways. Right here I got a little bit of shovel work to do, and of course I picked the worst part to have to do a little shovel work. Gosh, if you stuck with the build videos, you remember this giant machine that rolled over this area and packed it multiple times. But if you're like me and you don't do this for a living, you'll probably end up doing some shovel work too if you borrow an excavator or rent one. I mean, I could try to straddle the ditch and bring the excavator back up here, but I figure by the time I do that, I'll have these 3 or 4 humps knocked down with a shovel. and then I won't have to fix any of the ditch that I cave in. All right, I'm up at the top here on the hill. So behind me is where all the water comes in, right here, okay? Right by this shovel, I have the 2 gutter pipes from the house on this side. So I slicked that out the best I could because it's mushy with the bucket. And I formed that little retaining wall there. That's how I diverted all the water. So now I'm going to fill this with riprap. Now I'm going to make a little riprap pool here. And probably bring that riprap up this way a little bit to slow down that silting, so hopefully it stops up here for the most part. So we'll see how this goes. Alright, so when I connect them, I lay the pipe straight. I'm going to zip that with 3 or 4 or 5 screws in there. And then we're going to make the curves that way. Because I want to try and keep the flexing, obviously, as much as possible on the ridges, rather than the connection. So we'll see how it goes. All right, so I've got 4 sections maybe connected. I got them all screwed together, and now I'll wrap them around and just start laying dirt a little bit at a time. All right, this first turn looks very good. Pretty much the way I hoped it would. Just enough flex to curve it around the banana corner there. And then down here when I'm connecting them, I prop it up with a wad of dirt or something, and I only fill to maybe halfway, and then I'll keep connecting them so that I can access it easily. Don't ask me how I learned that. Take a quick look at the trench where we're at right now. So right here where I made my deep spot below the pier right there, I kind of built a mini pond dam right there and tracked it in to at least attempt to try and slow down the water again, because this is where it's obviously gouging. Probably won't work. I know if I line that all with riprap it would hold, but I don't want riprap down here right now at the bottom, because this will be a swimming area and you never know how deep it'll hold water. All right, we are almost there. Looks like a daggone oil pipeline. Almost down to the end. 1 or 2 pipes left to connect. Just a tiny bit of shovel work, level it out a little, and time to start backfilling. The hard part is close to being done. All right, boys and girls, that's a wrap. Almost, anyways. Kapper pipeline is down. No union jobs were lost as a result of this job. Let's fill this baby in. All right, just cleaning up the aftermath a little bit here. I got most of this dismantled. You can see the large rock I've got. There's the concrete blocks that were in here, the hay bales, and several more small piles of riprap size stuff. And then it's time to fill this whole thing in. So you could see there's an impression. When the excavator built the lake, he made a natural ditch right here, basically to collect just this little area. And his ditch was the one I tied into from the front. So this whole thing has to get filled in level now like this to complete this project and then eventually lawn. All right, and here is a look at it after a rough grading. And it's tracked down, a little bit packed in. As far as I know, everything went quite well. I don't believe there's any nicks on any lines, any broken pipes. Now it's just a matter of bringing in some more good dirt, like them piles right there, and grading it all down. And putting some riprap on both ends, the top and the bottom. And man, we're gonna be looking good. And here's the top end before I put riprap in it. That's there, you can see a little better. It's gonna be just a mini pool. There really shouldn't be much standing water in it, but there might be a tiny bit to get it to flow. All right, the first riprap's gonna go up here. Everything is just a mess. Now, this is what I was afraid of. I might be done for the season. If the ground doesn't dry up, I can't do any more dirt work. I mean, I'm already gonna make a mess here, but I was planning on bringing in fill or good dirt for a lawn. But I'll try and get at least this ditch covered with riprap in here and see how that goes. and here's a little mid-range look at the ditch. We're reshaping this ditch now, and we're going to put some fresh grass seed down into here. We do have a little bit of matting to cover some of it, but not enough. So we'll see. We're supposed to get rain in about 4 days, 3 or 4 days. Almost done here. Okay, so on the bottom end of the new pipe, I just cut it off, and I dug this little hole here with the excavator. I kind of made it a shallow grade there so the rock will stay. The riprap made a little kind of a flat hole here so I can have probably almost 2 feet of riprap. So when that water comes gushing out, it can absorb all that water before it gets to any dirt. And I got this 45 elbow that I'm going to put on here so that it shoots water off to the side, redirecting it and slowing it so it ain't shooting 6 feet out and right into the rock pile. And the other thing that gives me is I really didn't want it this close to that pier, because I hope to put a strip of sand here, you know, when you jump in the water and you can get out here. So I can actually move this rock pile instead of having it centered like this. I can move it at least a couple feet over away from the new pier. So let's put some rock in here. All right, and here is an after look. We regraded these ditches, and we thought we had more of this material, but it was only enough for the very center swath. So we raked in seed on both sides. And let's take a look at the retaining pool down here that we kind of formed by hand. Up here you got the main ditch feeding in, and then right here in this little hollow there, that's where 2 gutter pipes from the house come out at. And this here is the dam, and there is the pipe right there. So my theory on building it is if it's just too much where that pipe can't handle, it's going to overflow, and it should go right over the dam right there and then down into the woods where it used to go anyways. So that's the plan. Now I'm kind of curious to see what's going to happen on the next heavy rain. But looking good. We're just out of time. It's winter's here, and groundwork is going to be over here shortly. Alright, yeah, I gave up on trying to get the smaller rock on the top, but now I'm getting stone for the bottom in the lake. Alright, I had to do a little bit of filling in of the erosion ditches so I can get the tractor in there sideways. But it's going to look pretty good once it's all done. There's the mess concrete I pulled out from here. Let me lower that bucket just a little. Lawn's looking pretty nice. We're trying to find a day where we can cut it, but it's just been too wet. It's almost too thick now. Now the aircraft is flying itself. It's on what's called go mode. I am not doing anything except adjusting the camera, but it is actually flying on its own route right now. Okay, and here is the bottom end, tentatively done. The first heavy rain might prove otherwise, but until then, I just have to tack down that 45. It's designed, the water's going to splash out. It's kind of a low spot of rock there, and that's about 12 to 18 inches of rock down to that hole I dug. And then the hole kind of lifts up here like a ramp and goes back over. So in theory, it should splash down here and start breaking up. It may splash all over the place, who knows, but we'll see. And if it settles down in here, it should slow down as it's fighting through these rocks and work its way down. We still may have some runoff erosion down here, but once the water fills up, that water level is going to be somewhere around the bottom of these rocks. And then once it's running into full water here, it won't be an issue anymore. So stay tuned, we'll see how she goes. Okay, here's the final product up on top. We went out and got a couple more grass mats, and as long as we don't get any gully washers and we get warm enough temperature to germinate here, we'll be looking pretty good. Stay tuned.